Welcome to Pixel Pizza,
Did she say pizza?
your ultimate source for chiptunes, video game talk, and pepperoni. Delivered to you from Los Angeles and into the digital cyberspace of the 2020s.
Pizza power!
That's right, when super giant pizza.
I want a large, thick crust with double cheese, ham, pepperoni. Hey, where's my pizza? Pizza time.
Welcome back to Pixel Pizza, my friends. A bit of a late episode this week. It's launching on a Saturday rather than a Wednesday or a Thursday. That is because I am recording 2 episodes this week. The first one was with an upcoming guest. I won't spoil. They have a game that is coming out, and they had some announcements about that game that are not yet ready to be revealed. So, for those reasons, I cannot post the episode until later in June. But it's going to be a really cool one, and I am excited for you guys to hear it, and stay tuned on that one. But this week, you are not going hungry for Pixel Pizza. We have an equally fantastic, awesome, hilarious guest you won't want to miss, and that is Ruby Innes from Kotaku, Australia. You may recognize her last name because she is the sister of our beloved Jake Innes of Gaming Cult podcast fame. So, this one is going to be an awesome podcast. Hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, let's go to our first song of the episode from our chiptune artist of the week, BC Likes You. And I like you too. I like BC as well. And the track is called Vector Grid Wrath. So let's hit that one. See you soon.
I know now that my wife has become host to a Kandarian demon. I fear that the only way to stop those possessed by the spirits of the book is in the act of bodily dismemberment. I would leave now to avoid this horror, but for myself, I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me.
Welcome back to Pixel Pizza. You just listened to the track Vector Grid Wrath by our artist of the week, BC Likes You. And now we are here with our highly anticipated guest for the episode. She was a co-host on the aforementioned Gaming Cult podcast, and she has been thriving as a writer for Kotaku Australia. This is Ruby Innes. How you doing, Ruby?
I'm good, Jared. How about you?
I'm doing fine. I'm finally 100% over COVID, which my listeners...
Yeah, shit. How was... Sorry, can I cuss?
Yeah, you can cuss.
Okay. I always have to make sure.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
How are you feeling?
So much better. I was housebound for like 2 weeks, and I was coughing and hyperventilating, and it was the worst.
Oh, God. Yeah, I had it. God, when did I have it? I had it like earlier this year. I think in April or March. No, it was earlier than March because it was before my sister's birthday, because my sister got it on her birthday. She was super bummed about it because it was her 18th, and she was like, I can't believe I'm getting COVID on my 18th birthday. This is the worst day of my life. And I'm like, that is really sad. However, she, at the same time, like, I love her. She's an absolute schemer. She was like, oh, like, this, woe is me, this is the worst. Like, I got COVID on my birthday, my 18th birthday. I'm like, that does suck. That like sucks super much, you know, like, it's so bad. But like, then she would kind of walk around the house, and like, we had all had COVID, so we were all immune. She'd walk around the house being like, I don't even feel that sick. I feel super like fine. I don't feel sick at all. I feel normal. But then when she like needed something, she's like, Ruby, can you please get this for me from the other room? I have COVID. I'm so sick. And I'm like, I heard you like 5 minutes ago being like, this is not as bad as what everybody's talking about.
I know people like that.
She's a schemer, but I love her. Yeah, kind of love her for it. I admire it. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta respect the hustle. So I like to start off my show by asking the question, when did you know you wanted to work in games?
Oh gosh. Well, the thing is like, there was a kind of brief period of my life where I wanted to get into game design. And I think it was once I realized that it was a viable option at uni. Like, I didn't, before I went to uni, I didn't know that there were actually any courses to get into game design. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Because I've been playing games ever since I was born, almost. Like, Zach and Jake, my brothers, they were playing games when they were kids, and then I was born, and you know, a controller got chucked in my hand and away we go. But like, I'd always had video games in my life, and then the thought of making them was really, really cool. And then I ended up not going down that path because I was like, actually, I am bad at this. I'm not good at this.
That's one reason.
I'm bad at it. And I think that there are people that could do a lot better of a job on it than I could. So I scrapped that plan and just kept playing video games for fun. And then I started getting into media stuff through uni. I started doing my radio show. I started doing gaming call. And like, you know, still had this love for games, but also was just desperate to talk about it because I love to chat. Like, I love talking, and I love one of my big time favorite things is like recommending games to my friends, because they'll be like, oh, I just finished playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. I simply cannot play more than 500 hours of that game. Do you have anything else I could play? And I'm like, oh, cool. This. Like, it's very exciting to me. I love doing that.
I can't tell you how many albums, games, TV shows that I started getting into because of like all you guys' recommendations on gaming.
Yeah, we're big media heads. Like, we've been playing games ever since we were kids, and then like, it's cool because Zach, Jake, and I took such kind of different routes in terms of what media we enjoy. Like, which was just really neat. And like, Zach gets super interested into very specific things, and Jake has this like really cool coverall but like in-depth knowledge of incredibly niche things, which is like awesome. And then little old me, like, my specialty is fucking 2-hour gameplay pixel games, like just like little bits and pieces and random stuff that I find online, and just I love it. And then the mixture of that is games that flopped despite actually being quite good. So it's like, it's like, I've put so many friends specifically onto Ni no Kuni 2, which they didn't even know came out.
Yeah.
And it's like one of my favorite games of all time. Like, I loved the first one, but the second one had so much that you could do without it feeling like there was too much going on. And so when I would like tell my friends about it, I'm like, please play this game. If I ask you to play anything, it's this one. I mean, I asked them all to play Undertale because I'm a crazy person. And I'm like, if I have to live in my shame of being a, huge, sad Undertale fan, then so do you. All my friends have to play this game. Okay. But like, I was getting into media, doing radio and podcasting and stuff. And in terms of video game media in particular, I'd been doing Gaming Cult for a while. I'd started doing like video game stories and recommendations on my radio show, while also being a big loud freak on Twitter. And then I was approached about the Kotaku Australia job, and I didn't even like, this is going to sound horrible, I didn't even know it was going. Like, wow. I didn't know it was a job that was being offered until they hit me up being like, hey, would you be interested in applying? And I was like, oh, that sounds really, really cool. And like right up my alley. And like, it's funny because not long before, I'm going to say like a year before that, I applied through like an audition reel for like a hosting job on a video game show on the ABC, our local, our national broadcaster. Mm-hmm. And I think I did a really good job. I think I was fun and funny, and I showed that I was into games. But I think what got me not over the line was the fact that it was an audition reel for like a children's. It's like aimed at kids.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that it would be funny. I look back and I realized that probably whoever watched that probably was like, what? Why would she say that? You had to do like a news report, like a video game news report, on something that's actually happened. So I did. The Victorian government has put more funding into like local made indie games, and then once I was done with that, I was like in my head, I'm like, now it's time for a silly one.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, it's always time for a silly one. Like you should always do a silly one if you're going to have a serious one, like soften the blow. So I, and my boyfriend at the time, helped me with all the editing and stuff, which was great. Like we had a green screen. It was awesome. He helped with the editing of the funny one. And, I did a breaking news report, that Donkey Kong had died from complications with diabetes.
Oh no.
And I said like, Donkey, we're Konging with you, and then it ended, and I never got a call back. I never got a call back. Mm-hmm. And I look back and I'm like, maybe I should have done something different.
Yeah. I'm imagining the focus group of little kids hearing that and judging you and crying when they heard Donkey Kong.
They're crying. They're like, I can't believe Donkey Kong's dead. Well, I don't know what I was, but like, I look back now and I'm like, that's classic comedy. Like, and I feel like it's a good representation of like what I do now at Kotaku Australia. Cause like, there is a lot of reporting on things that are happening in the industry, and whatnot. But like, sometimes I've got free time and there's no news. And so I have to write something. And so I'm like, I'm going to find something so stupid and I'm going to write some absolute doo-doo garbage about it. And it's fun.
Yeah. Like I read that one you did recently about like the Embracer Group acquisition. You were just asking, where's Gex?
Yeah, well, it's an important. Okay, everybody's talking about Deus Ex and Tomb Raider and yada yada yada. But you know what? There were hints at a new Gex game coming out not that long ago, and there've been whispers about Gex. There've been little bird chirps about Gex going around for a while now, and suddenly the Embracer Group comes along and buys all Square Enix's Western studios, and nobody wants to talk about Gex. Nobody wants to talk about Gex. So I'm brave.
Yeah,
I am a brave soldier laying down my life to talk about Gex because everybody else didn't want to talk about Gex.
A hero to geckos everywhere.
Exactly, especially geckos that love television.
That's right. So,
but
I wanted
yes,
to.
I think I didn't probably answer the question, but basically I just got offered the job, got offered to apply, and I was like, why not? And it was kind of just like, the bottom line is I fell into it. I fell into my job, much like I've always just fallen into video games related media, which I love because I'm a clumsy person. So like, it's unsurprising that I just trip and fall into games media. But like, I mean, to be fair, I'd also been working for 5 years on radio and doing the podcast for even longer. But like, the answer to that question is it was on accident, but also exactly what I wanted to do because I love talking about games all the time.
Yeah, sometimes the answer has been staring you in the face the whole time and you don't even know.
Exactly. So anyway, please go on.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you feel like you developed your voice as a writer, your sense of humor that you bring to your articles?
So I think it's a mixture of things because I've come from a lot of different parts of like the creative world. Like I think a really big part of my work at Kotaku is my art, my drawings and stuff. Like I bring a lot of that in, and that started, when I was a little baby kid, started drawing, but then I was doing my comics just before I started working at Kotaku, and like that's a big part of what I do there. But also like I think when it comes to like how I developed my writing style and stuff, it's like I was writing in like sketch comedy performances for like 3 years before that, and had been doing kind of goofy, silly writing here and there in between. And then just with radio and with the podcast, like I kind of developed a very like conversational tone in my writing because I had to, because I was going to be saying it out loud on air. Sure. So like the way I write is the way I talk. And when it came to doing writing for Kotaku, because Kotaku Australia, I feel like Kotaku US is the same, but Kotaku Australia in particular, their writing is very conversational and very like it's like you'd be reading a message from a friend that has correct grammar and punctuation and is passed by an editor, but like reading a message from a friend telling you about something that's happened recently and putting a little fun, goofy spin on it. And like I feel like that's come from just like me dipping my toes in so many different like creative and media mediums, because I'm never satisfied with doing just one thing at any given time, because I need to fill my time up at all times, or I'm stressed about how much time I have. But at the same time, I'm also stressed about how much time I do not have. So constantly stressed, but at the same time, I can't imagine it any other way.
That's good. In my experience, did do some journalism for a while, and I felt like I sort of had to bend over backwards to adapt to like the brand voice that like a site or two was going for. They wanted it to be like, little like snarky and biting, and that's not like my natural way of doing things.
Me neither. Like look, not to toot my own horn, but I'm a little sweetie. Like I'm nice, like, and I try and be nice and spread positivity and stuff like that. And like it's there are times where I feel like it's expected for me to bite back, be a little bitchy, and like I'll do that every now and then, but like my writing, because my degree is in radio, and through that had to do like a lot of journalism stuff, and it was all very like formal writing, and that was just absolutely not my bag at all. Like I can do formal writing, I just don't enjoy it, you know? Like I find no joy in doing like, I don't want to say serious journalism, because it's discounting what video games journalism is. It's like, I think every video games writer has a different tone. Sure. And some are really good for very specific types of stories. And like me, I know who I am. I'm a goofy guy and I'm very nice. And the way that I talk about things is very casual, and that's exactly the type of vibe I'd like to give off all the time. But it's hard as well, because I think there's like this expectation of like, oh no, we need to take video games seriously and take video game journalism seriously. Thank you, Zach.
No, all right.
And I think there's this expectation, and it's true, because like there's so many things happening in the industry that need to be taken seriously.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that for a second. You know, it's like every story calls for a different tone is basically the big thing. And like I think every writer brings a different tone to it, and that's fantastic. And I think having that kind of diversity is really important, because then you're getting the whole story, even when like people will bring up little tidbits that other people won't, because maybe it's a little too silly for the article. But sometimes reality is silly. Like it's just so basically what I'm saying is like I value all types of video game journalism, but when it comes to me talking about games, I love games because they are fun and they make me happy. So all I want to do is write in a way that is fun and makes people happy.
Yeah, that's good, staying true to yourself. And you've also gotten to develop like a few of your own recurring article series. I know you have your Recommend series and the Scribble Taku. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, my Ruby Recommends I was about to say segment. I'm so used to radio. my Review Recommend series came from I love YouTube. I love YouTube. I think it is it is the best streaming platform out of all of them. I think it is such an incredible platform where people can make their own shit, like and be their own boss, you know, like whatever. Like they can talk about the most niche, like small things and make them feel so big and interesting. And I think that's so cool, you know. And like with the video game side of YouTube in particular, you know, you've got people doing let's plays and they are masters in their craft, or they're really bad at it, but it's funny to watch. Like there's the let's play side, and then there's my personal favorite, which is like the critical analysis side, and then just like the deep dives into games that you've never heard of, or got cancelled, or were released, but then it turns out they had a bunch of stuff that was unreleased. Like, just I love video game essays. And all like deep dives. I love it, and there are so many really good creators on YouTube that are doing that stuff. And I think it's the thing with like video games in particular is like, you're not gonna see that many like professionally produced and like, you know, like Hollywood levels and you know, made by the BBC, anything like that. You're not gonna see stuff like that based on like a character from a Sonic game that, you know, never ended up appearing in the game. And why is that? And what have we found from a data mine? Like, you're not going to find a documentary like that made by anybody but like maybe one person in their room working on it for days, weeks even. Like it's cool because like it allows people to have this kind of like outlet to talk about their niche in a way that makes someone who normally wouldn't be very interested in it incredibly interested in it, you know. And that's why I love YouTube, and I love the video game side of YouTube. And so with Ruby Recommends, I was like, there are so many creators that I feel like people haven't heard of, that, you know, they're releasing this great stuff that I'd love to, you know, put out there and show off. Because, and like that being said, like I've also, you know, one of my Ruby Recommends was People Make Games video, and People Make Games are huge. Like, but sometimes it's literally just like, it's I feel like it's the general tone of like what I do in general. It's like, obviously I'm not out here trying to make like toxic parasocial relationships, but I approach my writing like I'm a friend, you know, and like I'm recommending you a game, or I'm talking about something that happened recently in the games industry. And with Ruby Recommends, it's like, oh, I saw this really cool YouTube video, you should watch it, it's 3 hours long. Like it's like I just love doing it, you know, like and it's and at the same time, like I don't think I'm like this you know, absolute pariah who's like you know, helping the little guys, I'm the best. Like, no, it's literally just me going, this is a cool YouTube video, you should watch it. Because it's like, I need to tell somebody about it, and now I've got a job where I can.
Right.
And then Scribbble-taku is like it's like so it's an old Kotaku thing that started like in the early days of Kotaku Australia, and it's kind of just been like passed down ever since. And it went away for a bit, and I was really bummed about it, because I'm like, well, it's Scribbble-taku, like it's fun, like and I draw, so like I wanted to find some other way to bring my drawings into the website, because like I was doing, you know, like featured images for some articles, and I was doing whole articles that were surrounded by my silly drawings, but like having like a regular thing means that I can keep practicing and keep drawing and having fun. And Scribbble-taku was kind of perfect for that. So I brought it back. I originally brought it back and tried to do this thing where I would draw either like video game characters, or like celebrities related to video games, or just like celebrities related to pop culture, because I think the first one I did was Werner Herzog. I would draw their face onto Kirby's body. And it was fun for me, like, because it was really silly. Like, I just draw this hyper realistic face on the, you know, the soft round body of Kirby. And it got to a point where I think one commenter was like, this is getting kind of boring. Like, you're just drawing a very obvious face onto Kirby's body. And I'm like, you know what? It hurts a little, but at the same time, I'll take it as constructive criticism, and I will figure something else out. And so that's when I started doing 2-panel comics as Scribbble-taku, and basically people have to guess what the game is based off of the comic. And like the vast majority of the time people get it right, but every now and then they won't. Nobody will guess it. And it's like, sometimes, like the last time nobody guessed it, it was a really big game, but I just feel like I was too vague. It was Journey, and like I drew like a picture of you know, it was a guy wearing a red cape, and it was you know, in the dunes, and he honked. He did like a musical honk, because in my mind, in Journey, you would honk, like
the other players,
right? Yeah. So I was just like, that makes sense to me, but nobody got it. And then the most recent one, I don't think anybody's guessed it still, but it's like one of my favorite games. And I think the problem is that like it's not a super known game. So I was like, I'm gonna dive into the indie world and chuck this one in. And it's not like indie to the point of like exclusively on itch.io and like under 100 downloads. Like it's you know, semi-indie. It's still indie. I feel like indie is a really hard term nowadays, because you've got like AAA indie, and then you've got like indie with a publisher, and then indie, you know, it's like solo indie. It's every game genre needs like a million subgenres behind it. That's the way of things nowadays.
Yeah. Like,
but
I've been hearing so many people say their most anticipated indie game is the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And I mean, it's made by like a small studio in France, but they have a publisher, they have a massive license. I feel like that goes beyond the scope of indie.
Yeah, I feel like, and not discrediting anybody, but I also feel like it's not an indie game.
Right.
Like that is a licensed product. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have been around for I feel like if there's been a movie of it and it's something that there's been multiple games of, and just like a myriad of things that would put it in the spotlight already, even if you're making like a smaller game for it. I think my point is like, if you've successfully obtained the publishing rights, then I don't think you can call it an indie game anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
like
got too many stakeholders.
Yeah, like it's but then again, I feel like the meaning of indie has just warped, and I wouldn't say that's a bad thing so much, but at the same time it can sometimes I think be difficult for smaller indie developers, because like the more focus that we put on those indie games that have publishers behind them, a lot of money behind them, big teams behind them, or even reasonable teams behind them, it probably makes it even harder for these smaller developers, these solo developers, because indie is kind of being filled with people who, have the money and have the support. But at the same time, I have loved many, many games that have come from indie studios with publishers. So like, it's hard to be like, this is bad, but also this is good. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game was Underhero, which I love. It's like one of my favorite games of all time. And I feel like not enough people have played it. And it's really funny and it's really weird and really goofy. And I want everyone to play Underhero, because every time I say Underhero, they're like, "Oh, are you recommending us Undertale again, Ruby?" And I'm like, "No, it's different. It's a different game."
What platforms is it on?
I think it is on. I know that it's on PC and I'm pretty sure on Mac as well. But it's I think it's on Switch as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it's on. I feel like it's on enough platforms that people should be able to play it. And it's like one of those perfect Switch games as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
those games that come out on PC and it's like, yeah, this is good. Like, this is fantastic. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And then it comes out on a handheld console and it's like, oh, now I get it. All right. This fits. This makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm. There was a game like that recently, but I cannot remember which one it was specifically. It's killing me. It'll come to me.
Yeah, it'll come to you. Don't worry.
Yeah. So another question, I mean, you kind of brushed on it, but this is one of the dangers or challenges of writing is, dealing with comments. Sometimes they're not as constructive. And how do you kind of process that?
I've kind of got a pretty thick skin for it now. Like, I've gotten the odd comment that's, not posy vibes, not very cool. And at first it would really affect me. It made me really sad. But then I was like, oh, you know what? Like, in the long run, how is this really going to affect me? One person saying some doo-doo stuff to me. Like, it's very small potatoes, and I can't make everybody like me, and that's something that's hard to come to terms with, because I am an absolute people pleaser and I will try and make everyone like me all the time. But like, I also have to come to terms with not everybody's gonna like me, and that's okay. And like, I think I knew that coming into Kotaku, because like they and like I love Kotaku. I've been reading it for years, but like I know the reputation that they've had for the for saying stuff that other people wouldn't say, and having those, you know, quote unquote hot takes that other people wouldn't have. And like, I get where people are coming from, where they're like, oh, you know, well, not everything's political. And it's like, yeah, but it's all about like opinion and perspective. The whole world is based off like opinion and perspective. That's what media is like. And then you've got hard-hitting news, and then you've got opinions, and both of those are at Kotaku. And like you just got to go for what you want to read, and then leave for the other stuff, or read the other stuff and get mad about it. Like it's so like I've accepted that like there are going to be people that simply have come around to get mad, and I respect it. And people are allowed to disagree with me. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But like, if there are comments just coming in to say like, you fucking suck, like I hate you, I hate your writing. It's like, well, I got this job through merit, so like I can't really. Like, oh, okay, you don't like my writing, don't read it, man. Like, I can't control your life. Like, it's every time I see a weird comment, and I don't, you know what, to be fair, I don't really get a lot of them. And I think it's because I play it incredibly safe. For now. One day I will be just on an absolute rampage. Just writing all the hot takes. I'll go mental.
Batten down the hatches.
Yeah, everybody, you know, get in your bomb shelters. I am about to spill my worst takes. No, I got good takes. I believe in myself. But like, if people don't like my stuff, they don't have to read it.
Right.
And if they question like, oh, how did you even get this job? It's like, I don't know. I went to uni for like 5 years, and I have 5 years of experience in media. Like, it's very strange. But like, yeah, comments don't really get to me anymore, because it's like I kind of just look at them and I go, that's your opinion, man. That's I don't know what to do with the information that you've given me.
It's definitely a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So do you think in any way, I mean, I know like this has been a conversation for years, but has video content and social media made like, you know, written print journalism more difficult in any way for you?
No, that's a very good question. And like, yeah, it's weird, because it's like you're always trying to find new ways to make written journalism pop, you know, outside of like video journalism and audio journalism, you know, because like videos and podcasts are like a lot more comfortable to consume. And I say that as someone with an audio production background. Like, making podcasts is heaps of fun, and it's also like it's not easy. Like, to make a podcast is not easy at all.
Oh, no.
Like, to listen to a podcast, incredibly easy. It's so easy to listen to a podcast. They are fucking difficult to make. Like, it is. You know, I know.
Yeah.
It's hard. And like live radio, managing that, terrifying, so scary, you know, and Twitch streaming and YouTube, like producing a video, even like with YouTube nowadays, you need to kind of have videos be over that like 10-15 minute mark, or else people aren't going to watch them. Like, those short videos have kind of fallen into the background, and now people want to watch stuff that is super duper long. And I'm not saying 15 minutes is super duper long, but I am saying that 7 hours is super duper long. And I have seen some 7-hour YouTube videos. So like, people want to sit down and watch YouTube, and because it's easier to consume, but it's a lot harder to make. And with writing, with print media, I feel like it's kind of the opposite. And that's not to say, like, I got to save my ass here. Writing is hard. Getting a good writing style is hard, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into getting it published.
Oh yeah.
But like in terms of writing versus video producing, which includes writing,
that's true.
There's less to do, and you know, all journalists and all artists and all creatives are equal. They're all equal, all valid. But in my personal experience, making videos is a lot harder than writing. And in terms of consuming them, writing can sometimes be a lot more difficult because, like, if you're reading something that's personal opinion, if like I don't like reading something that is too filled with jargon, especially academic jargon.
Yeah.
If it's a story that doesn't call for like super formal writing, I find it really difficult to read. Like,
yeah,
if it's like super like I don't know, straighty, I find it really difficult because it's like there doesn't need to be this many words. It doesn't need to be waxed this lyrically, and yet it is, and it's harder to get the point across, which is like why I like the way I write is based off of the way I'm able to consume media, which is like I find it easier to consume video game news specifically when it's given to me very simply and very conversationally, and maybe with a joke here and there, you know, like I find it a bit easy to consume that information. And I feel like with you, I don't know what, I feel like both video and audio platforms and writing platforms, they both serve their purpose in the sense of like, if you're looking for something that's like, got that audio visual aspect or just audio aspect and is more in depth and has a clear tone to it because you can literally hear people talking, I'd say, you know, the best thing to do is go to YouTube. But there are very few times you see news being broken, like video game news in particular, being broken on YouTube before it's broken on, let's say, Twitter or even on a video game news website. Like, it's just a lot easier to get stuff out on written platforms, you know? So I feel like they both serve their purpose, but in the sense of like kind of crisscrossing, I feel like if an article on a video game website could work as a YouTube video, I feel like people are going to be more interested in watching a YouTube video about it than like, let's say, 2,000 word article.
Yeah.
And that's just from like personal experience and people I've talked to. Like it's a lot easier to consume, but it's a lot harder to make. So it's like it's interesting. I think they both serve their purpose, but there are definitely things that can be done better on YouTube. It's just that it takes a whole lot more time.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it has a lot to do with like storytelling and narrative focus, and they each tell the story in different ways.
Big time. Like, it's like comparing I don't know if this is going to sound right, but it's like comparing a script to a finished movie. Like, because the thing is, you can very easily they can go both ways. Like, you can very easily turn an article into a YouTube video. I've seen it done many times before. Like, there are plenty of YouTubers who will find an article, or do their research and get multiple articles and put it all into a YouTube video and kind of just read it out, but in their own way. So it's, it's not them just like copy and pasting. It's very much like there's a word for it in media, which I've completely forgotten, but like there's a word for like taking an article and turning it into a video. And you can do vice versa. Like you can find like a YouTube video and then write an article kind of on the same thing. But I feel like that's a bit more taboo, just because like with the YouTube video, clearly like there's so much time and effort being put into not just writing the script, which would, pretty much just be the article, but also, the visuals and the audio and like timing and everything. Like so much work gets put into it. So sometimes it feels, to me at least, it feels a little dirty seeing like would be a fantastic YouTube video being kind of whittled down. But that's just me personally, no hate to anybody that does that, but like it's a weird thing of like they're very different platforms. Sure. And sometimes they adopt from each other, but I feel like they both they're both their own special thing. I don't think either of them are going anywhere. I think people still get a lot of their like breaking gaming news from like video game news websites like Kotaku, IGN, Press Start in Australia is really good, Games Hub. I'm every time I try and think of other gaming news websites, the first ones that come to my mind are Australian ones. So I'm just like racking my brain for other ones. GameSpot. The thing is with America, I always get GameStop and GameSpot mixed
it is
up.
so confusing.
Yeah. I thought they were owned by the same person.
They own Game Informer, the magazine. GameStop
Game Informer
store owns the magazine.
Yeah.
The only gaming magazine that still exists.
Really?
At least over here, as far as I know.
Wow.
It's like, aside from like fanzines, that's like the only dedicated gaming magazine, and it's I think primarily because it's sold and the subscriptions are sold at GameStop.
Yeah, and I feel like gaming magazines, they're really big in the UK. Still, but like in Australia and in the States, they've flopped. They've fell off, which is a shame, because like I remember being a kid and getting, I think it was Endgamer, like all the time. It's my favorite magazine. And like I loved those video game magazines because sometimes they'd have a demo disc inside of them every now and then. And then that's when I would be like, yes, go insane for it.
I recently had, for my college thesis, I wrote about like an old game that I really loved and like did like a story analysis. And I got out of the blue reached out to by a guy in France. And he said, we have this gaming magazine and I'd love if we could translate your article into French and publish it in the magazine. And I was like, I'd be honored.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Wow. No, that's all. Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's cool as well because it's like you can have this incredibly niche little interest, or not even niche, but you can have this interest in a game or in like a game community or even just like a very specific subgenre.
Right.
You can have this interest and dive deep into it and think like nobody's gonna think about this the way that I think about this, and then someone from the complete other side of the world is like, no, I give a shit and I think it's fantastic. And it's cool, like the World Wide Web and the beauty of globalization means that all the things that we think we're the only person that's into it, we find that we're not. and then we can share in that excitement, which I think, it's really cool.
It really is.
Yeah.
So you've also had the opportunity to interview a lot of cool people, developers, recently professional wrestlers.
Oh my God.
So a question I've always wondered about interviewing people is that oftentimes, like guests will have like a product coming out that they want to talk about. It could be a movie, like talk shows. It could be a game. It could be a TV show. And so when you're asking questions, how do you balance talking about like the thing of the day with just questions that the people want to know?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard because like a lot of people will come on to talk about a very specific thing. And I think because I've been interviewing for years now with my old radio show and stuff like that. Like that's where kind of my interviewing roots started. And then when I came into Kotaku, I was like, I want to do interviews. Like I want to talk to people. I feel like we're not talking to enough people. Like I wanted to get out there and talk to developers and stuff, especially indie developers. Because the best part about talking to indie developers is that they're so excited. They're so excited to talk about their game. And like all they want to do is just unload. And I'm like, that's awesome. Because like it's so cool seeing someone so passionate about something that they've made. And that's why I love talking to indie developers.
Exactly.
But like sometimes like with I feel like it's a case by case basis. Hey, so like with indie developers, I will let them talk about whatever they want. Like if they want to talk about their game, if they want to talk about how they started, like I will let them unload. It's so funny the amount of times I've been in an interview with an indie dev and they've been like, how much do you want me to say with each question? And I'm like, say as much as you want. Like, don't hold back. It's very like this fear of like, oh, I don't want to come off as like, I don't want to be too much. And like, I don't want to, overload you with information. It's like, no, overload me. That's the point, is like, we want to learn about what you're making. Like it's this fear that I feel like big developers don't have. So like, it's very interesting. These big developers have a lot of media training and stuff. And a lot of these indie developers don't have media training. So you kind of have to work with that as well. And like ask safe questions, but also make sure you're not like pushing them into like my whole thing is like no yes or no questions, only questions that people can elaborate on.
Absolutely.
But like make sure it stays relevant. So like because of that, when I can tell that someone might not have media training, I do make the questions super duper specific, because it's like, I need them to stay on track. And they always do, because like they want to talk about their game and they love it so much and they love what they do. And it's fantastic. But like I think with interviewing people who come on with a purpose, it's very much like you need to take control completely and like ask a question and make sure they stay on it. Like and not in like a brutal way, of course, but like if like something I would love doing with someone who's very clearly media trained is like listen out for things that they're saying and then grab onto something if I feel like it can further relate to like what I'm planning to talk about. Like with this pro wrestler interviews that I had, the last wrestler that I talked to, Toni Storm, she was an absolute sweetheart, but she was openly like, I'm not a gamer, which is like, fair enough, you don't have to be, it's legal. But I write for a video game website, so I had to find something. But she mentioned that when she was a kid, she used to play The Sims. So the second that she said that, I was like, cool, I'm staying on that, and just started, asking about The Sims and like what expansions she would play, and just going deep into that. And like it's this weird thing of like you have to steer the boat, or else they're gonna steer it, and sometimes you won't like the direction that it's going in. And it's hard because you don't want to sound rude either. I'm always terrified of sounding rude, especially to like a talent that I'm talking to. Like I don't want to, as I said before, I'm a people pleaser. I don't want to upset anybody. So like I don't want to sound like I'm being too demanding. But what people who do interviews realize is like when people are asking them questions, it's not demanding. It's like, it's business, baby, like it's simply how the interview goes. And like, if we got to move on, we got to move on. So I think it's a mixture of like being able to steer the boat, but also knowing that the person that you're interviewing understands that you're going to ask more questions than just what is your product and what does it do,
Don't take them totally by surprise. Building on that, I did want to ask, was there ever anything you learned from an interview that really stuck with you?
That stuck with me? Oh my God. I did an interview with the developer, I think like the lead developer from Gibbon Beyond the Trees.
Oh, yeah.
That is one of the most heartbreaking interviews I've ever done.
Oh.
It was so sad, but like beautiful, because they've made this beautiful game. I'm already about to cry. This beautiful game about gibbons and about, how beautiful they are. It's physics-based, that you fly through the trees and you swing from tree to tree. It's awesome. It's so much fun. But it's also incredibly sad because like they originally started by just wanting to make a game about gibbons because the way that they move is incredibly cool. But then they did their research and realized that like gibbons are facing like, endangerment because of habitat loss and tourism and like all these factors which are killing them. And it's so sad. And God, what was this like when I was doing this interview, he was explaining it to me and like explaining like the research that they had to do and like the non-for-profits that they talked to and what they told him. And I was just sitting there like, oh my God, oh no, like it's so sad. And that stuck with me because like I didn't know shit about gibbons. I just knew that they were like, cool. Like they swing on the trees and they're cool. But then I learned that, they face a lot of really hard stuff in their environment or lack thereof. So like that stuck with me a lot. It was really like, I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how to deal with that. That's rough. But then also I did a really fantastic interview with Andrew. He makes the zine Indiepocalypse, which is such a fantastic zine. It's it's like I feel like I'm using this word wrong. A collation, like a collection. Oh my God, sorry. I like to say that I still have COVID brain. I probably don't, but like it makes up for the fact that I am just spacey.
Good excuse to know about.
It's like yeah. It's good. Like anytime you feel like you've gotten something wrong, just be like brain fog, COVID.
Yeah.
But Indiepocalypse is like a collection of indie games that have been submitted to Andrew or made for that issue of Indiepocalypse because they sometimes go by like themes and stuff, and it's awesome. It's such a good initiative. It's an online zine through Itch.io, and it's just fantastic, and really nobody's doing it like he is. So I have a lot of respect for him, and I think the rest of the indie world does as well, because like he's basically just like honed in on those experiential games and those games that are heaps of fun, but they only go for like 2-3 hours, and he's like, I want to spotlight those, and it's super cool. And like I think just his passion for getting that stuff out there was it stuck with me, because it's like I love seeing what comes out of the video game world that isn't just like AAA stuff. Like I like seeing, you know, what people have made all on their own or in little groups, you know, and the fact that, you know, he's got this zine that's been going for quite a while, and it's showcased so much like incredible small talent. Like I admire him so much. So much. And just his passion and what he does really stuck with me. Like, yeah, I think he's very, very cool. And I like it also kind of, I guess, opened my eyes even a little bit more on like the indie gaming world, and made me bookmark Itch.io and look at it like every week.
Oh yeah,
I can't stop. I'm like constantly going back to Itch.io and like saying, all right, what's new? What else can I get and play for 2 hours and feel like my whole perception of something's been changed?
It's a constant fountain of cool stuff from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've also mentioned that you're really passionate about spotlighting the Australian gaming scene in particular. Are there any like really great up and coming teams there you want to shout out?
Oh gosh, that's hard. Hungry Sky is fantastic. They released Necograms. It's a phone game. They released that, it was either late last year or early this year. But like they're fantastic. I did an interview with them and they're just really, really sweet, lovely group of people. And their games are really cute, and I think they're fantastic. I feel like there are a lot of solo developers in Australia as well. Like Celestia's fantastic. He does a lot of like really politically charged, like left-wing games that are just so well done. And his most recent game, Scotty Goes to Centrelink, when it blew up, rightfully so, because it's very, very silly and very funny. And so many people were like, you know, because Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, recently lost the election. And Celestia's game was about him having to go on welfare payments. And so, and the thing is like our welfare system is, you know what, it's better than other countries, but in saying that the bar is low and it's not good and it's incredibly difficult to get into. And the government, the past government made it even harder. So like it's a real funny kind of take on like how difficult welfare is to get onto and to stay on, and kind of looking at that through the lens of like this dead shit prime minister who just lost his job. So like it's funny, a lot of fun, and Celestia makes really great stuff. So he's fantastic. S-Bug Games are really good as well. They made Webbed, which is a little game where you're a spider and you have to save your spider boyfriend who's been taken away by a bird. They are fantastic. I love that game so much. I've played Webbed like a multitude of times now, just because like the physics of like being a spider and like shooting web and gliding through the air. It's like I could play Spider-Man. I could play Spider-Man and I could play Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like I could do that. Or I could be a little spider and save my little spider boyfriend. And cute music is playing and it's pixel graphics. Like what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose the pixel graphics one because that is my bread and butter. I love it. I live for it. But yeah, S-Bugs games are fantastic. I'm currently like I'm on the hunt a bit because I've gone. I mean, I did that interview with the pro wrestlers the other day, but it's been a little dry in terms of getting to interview indie developers. So I'm on the hunt, trying to find more because I want more. I want to talk about their games so badly. But yeah, it's hard because I mean, the Melbourne indie game scene, the industry itself is huge, and it's because they get a lot of funding. And it's the same with Queensland as well. They get a lot of funding too. So you see a lot of really good stuff come out of Melbourne and Queensland, like The Artful Escape and
that's such a good game.
Unpacking.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, like there's so much good indie stuff coming out of Australia that like blows up. And I feel like that's really put like I guess a spotlight on Australia in general of just like, hey, we actually make shit over here and it's really good. Please pay attention to us. But yeah, no, it's hard to like, I said a few, but it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick them because it's like, oh, I don't want to have favorites, but also here's a few that I like. Like Beethoven and Dinosaur, the ones who made Artful Escape, they're fantastic. And Witchbeam, who made Unpacking, are incredible. Yeah, there's just so much good, and there's so much more like outside of just the ones that have, you know, managed to blow up. It's too many. We need less. No, we don't need less. We need more. Kidding.
All right. Well, I think that's close to the time we have, but I do have one final question for you, Ruby. This is the Pixel Pizza Podcast. What is your favorite pizza place?
Oh gosh. I was in Chicago in 2019 and I tried the deep dish pizza at a place, but I can't remember the place. But I remember my family telling me that it's like the place in Chicago for deep dish pizza. So if there are any Chicago listeners that can identify what the big place to get deep dish pizza in Chicago is, it's probably that place.
Yeah,
but I love deep dish pizza.
Who was on the show from Chicago, Owen from Jackbox, and he mentioned a pizza place. Maybe it was that place because
it might be that place because I love deep dish pizza. And all my Australian friends that I've talked to who have tried deep dish pizza, they're like, no, man, what the hell? And I'm like, it's good. It's like a pie. You just have one slice. Like, it's yummy. It's genius. It's like a mixture of a pizza, a pie, and a lasagna. I don't understand what else you'd want. It's genius. But if I had to choose a place that I can remember the name of, I would say, oh man, probably I was about to say Little Caesars, and it's not even true.
No,
it just popped into my head, but I'm like, no, I don't believe that. It's literally, I do not, and they closed down. All of their stores closed down in Australia, or at least I think all of them. I'm gonna go with Bar Italia in Leichhardt of Sydney, Australia, because the pizza is good, the pasta is good, and the staff are all very rude unless you go there a lot, which I feel like is the true experience.
Yeah,
and I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me, Ruby. I had a blast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. Where can people keep track of what you do?
You can find me on kotaku.com.au, where I write for Kotaku Australia. I'd be writing the news, and sometimes I'd be writing silly little doo-doo things for fun. And then also things that I love and things that I don't love. Sometimes I'd be talking about things that I hate. So you can find me on there at my job. Or you can find me on Twitter at Rubianus, where I am a little more unhinged, but still having a fun time. And that's probably it where you can find me.
Awesome. So this marks the end of another installment of the Pixel Pizza podcast. We are going to lead out with another track from BC Likes You, and that is called Pack a Sandwich. We're going on an adventure. Enjoy that, listeners, and we'll see you next week.